Hey, it's Mirna from Trainer's Toolbox. Welcome to the Trainer's Toolbox podcast, a place where you can discover practical and effective tools and tips to make your workshops more insightful, engaging, and memorable. You are at the right place if you're looking to become the best trainer you can be and design truly impactful learning experiences. Ready? Let's dive in. Today it's a little bit different episode. It came from questions from one of the amazing participants who is currently on Train the Trainer, and her question that show up already a few times, it's about, can you actually be a great trainer if you're an introvert? Is it a challenge? Is it a clash? Can that work? And I asked her to clarify this with a set of sub-questions and gathered a bit of questions together. And today I'm really just exploring and diving into those questions. What are the advantages, disadvantages, misconceptions, any strategies that might help you if you're an introvert and you would like to be a trainer or facilitator? So maybe first to clarify a little bit my position. I am quite in the middle between extrovert and introvert, leaning a bit more towards introversion. And in my life, it demonstrates mostly through two things. One, when I spend a lot of time with people and a lot of time in interactions, including the workshops, it hugely drains my energy. So if I don't protect enough of time alone, if I get a bit distracted by interesting events and so on, it really has a big impact on my energy. And I really need time alone to recharge. That's like a must for me. And the second thing is it influences the clarity of my thinking. I think much better on my own. I can be much more strategic. I can work things out and make decisions much better with myself, being that just reflecting or even writing, but creating that space, than in an interaction and in conversation. Conversations with others can give me a lot of great, new insights, ideas, perspectives, inspiration to go in a new direction, but they do not help me structure my thoughts, and they just become very divergent and all over the place if I spend too much time in conversations and too little time in kind of processing and reflecting and making my own conclusions. So let's go with the questions from the beginning. I wrote them all on Post-its, of course, a trainer's thing, and I'll be reading them one by one and then just answering a bit more spontaneously. So first question, can introverts actually succeed as trainers without changing their personality? Yes. I'm even surprised that this is a question. Of course, absolutely. I think one thing we have to recognize is that to be a better trainer does not mean to be more loud or more outgoing or more extroverted. And in fact, I would say one of the ways to succeed as an introvert, as a trainer, is to not to try to be what we are not to try to be acting more extroverted and like stepping into a different style. It is in fact to find a way to use our own style that still works well for our environment. And of course, then maybe to stretch a bit in some skills, in some abilities, like we would do with any skill set, but not necessarily to try to change our style and be different than we are. I think what is the key to success in training is intentionality, clarity, building structure, ability to build safety in the space, ability to create training that is truly relevant and not just, random fun, but that has relevance. And for all of these things, I think a bit more introvert personality can give us definitely a lot of advantages. More on that in a bit as well. I think maybe one thing where we do want to be mindful of this, being an introvert as a trainer might mean that we are not able, is not the best word, but I don't have a better one right now, that we are able to deliver a bit less training days than an extrovert maybe. I know that facilitation and training and holding space and holding process can also be exhausting for many extroverts, but still I feel like as introverts, we waste more energy on a workshop and we drain a bit more energy, and like having a workshop every day for a week or something like that, to me, it would kill me. So we really want to keep that in mind, that maybe that also influences a bit of our business model, that we are not going for many cheap workshops we deliver every day and constant delivery, but that we really protect the value that we are giving, that we use adequate pricing and the depth of the workshop with which we work, so we actually have time also for that recharge and preparation in between. Question number 2, very connected. What makes a good trainer apart from being outgoing? What are other qualities that actually would make a good trainer? I would say being outgoing does not make a good trainer. It can be a skill that trainer can use, and that's useful and relevant for them, but it's not a necessary skill at all. I would say strong design, like clear goal, ability to build a good structure, ability to understand learning and different aspects of learning process, such as divergence, convergence, debriefing, need for people to reflect and how do they need to reflect to come up with a conclusion, need to build in experience, so we would create learning. I think all this knowledge about how learning works and knowledge to build that kind of structure, like exactly what we are learning on Train the Trainer, that is what makes for good training and a good trainer. Other than that, it's definitely ability to listen, ability to adapt to what happens in the room and not just push our own agenda, ability to respond to participants, to understand their needs. And that's something that I think as an introvert, actually there might be advantages to that this comes more natural. Sometimes it will also be knowledge, depends on what kind of training we are doing. And definitely it will be ability to ask good questions, which is again something where I feel that's a difficult skill for anyone to master, nothing to do with introvert or extrovert. It's something where we need to really learn to develop that skill. Now, next question, really interesting and relevant one. How to manage energy during and after session? Any tips, practical tips and tricks? Definitely, my best tip is to figure it out for yourself and what is important to you and what works for you. But here are some of the things I do. I usually show up for a session very early, like an hour and a half before, and really take time to settle in that space and to allow my thoughts to settle and organize. And this also comes down a little bit to owning the space and to preparing the space, but it also comes just to giving myself space that my entry to the workshop, it's not immediately in interaction with participants or with the staff of the workshop space, that even if they're explaining me something and showing me something, that's not the central thing in my preparation, but that I actually land in that quite early time. Maybe that also comes with some rituals. For me, one of the rituals is maybe just to organize my stuff a little bit, to know where my materials are, to kind of organize the space as well. Even usually it's set up the way I asked for it, but still maybe I do some adjustments, and just in that way I kind of settle into the space. I try really, really hard to also book workshop spaces to which I can commute in a way that's comfortable for me, to avoid public transport. It's a plus if I can walk. Sometimes that's challenging with a lot of things I'm bringing physically, but in some way that avoid crowded public transport, because for me that's a huge drainer. And I organize half of my life around avoiding that. So definitely when I'm entering the workshop, I try to do the same. Apart from that, I never, ever socialize after the workshop. If it's a full day workshop, I just cannot and don't want to. Sometimes I'm tempted and it's always a mistake. So by now I'm very clear that evenings belong to me only and I should not plan anything with anyone. I should communicate clear expectations on that in advance, that it has nothing to do with the group or, not wanting to spend time with them, but that it's really time that I need. And again, that might be a bit personal if you need that or not. Next to that, it's also to really use the breaks during the day. I think the toughest things in trainings and with energy management can be that sometimes participants will approach us in a break and they'll ask some questions, or we'll just hang out with them in a break. And that can really sabotage our break. And I think it's important to protect that space and set that boundary while still being gentle. I was once in a training where a trainer was very firm on his boundaries around his breaks, but he was not gentle at all. He was all the time pushing his hand in our faces and be like, okay, I answered that question, now I need to take a break. Really, it was not nice. So I would be very mindful how I communicate that break. But I would also be very clear that I need that break and that I'm protecting it. Sometimes we might have a chance to take a break during some of the activities. That really depends on our design. I usually prefer to listen in whatever is happening in small rooms or whatnot, small groups. But sometimes if I'm low on energy, maybe I'll also use a bit of that time to recharge. Definitely observe what is happening for your energy during the day. When does it drop? When does it start to drop? When do you start to feel a bit overwhelmed? And learn what are those points in your workshops. You might also want to think what kind of workshops you are ready to offer based on this. Maybe you're not doing a full day workshops. Maybe you're not doing multiple day events. I do it, but I'm very mindful of what kind of events they are, where do they fit. I never do full day virtual, not an option. No, not necessary for anyone. So not one thing I do. And maybe the last two things, I think breath is really your superpower to recharge. So always consciously taking a few slow, deep breaths right before the session, right before a more active part where you need to be more energetic. And in any moments when your energy drops a bit, or when you have a chance, because maybe participants are occupied with something, that's your chance to take a nice deep breath. And especially long exhale to kind of get back into your body, relax a bit. That's a tip for anyone, not just introverts, but I think that's an important tip for our energy management. And then the last thing, definitely plan adequate recovery. If you had an event that's just big event, extends over multiple days or many workshops, be aware where should you place a day with no calls or less calls, or in which way will you be more in nature or stepping away from all the conversations. So also like plan that time consciously to protect the time after workshop or before workshop for recovery. Like I always do this when I do retreats, like the treehouse. Well, the last day before, it's always very intense with some stuff from logistics and so on. But I always go there a day early, there or somewhere nearby. I always protect the day before to not have any non-essential conversations. For event, everything is ready more ahead. I'm not preparing anything on the last day except the things that are physical, so they need to be prepared the last day, like within the space. I'm very conscious that that day is protected, and also the day after. If it's longer event, like a retreat, getaway, if it's like 4 days, 7 days, then I'll always do that. I try to do it also day after delivering full 2 days, like advanced facilitation or advanced storytelling, but then maybe it will be a bit lighter in sense, maybe I still meet some of the friends and so on, but I just leave like half a day for silence. But this is all about also planning it and knowing in advance how will you feel after the event and what will you need. There is one more question. Which training formats are best suited for introverts? Is there some format that's better, like one-on-one, small groups, online, and so on? I would say this is very individual. Here you really have to listen to yourself and consider where would I be comfortable. My intuition would be that small groups are probably the coziest, maybe even physical more than virtual, because in online it's a bit harder to pick up the cues, so that can be also actually draining sometimes. That would be my hunch, but I think it's very, very individual, and I think that's something you really want to explore for yourself and see what works for you. Now, misconceptions. What are the common misconceptions about introverts in this space, like the space of training and facilitation? I would say they're same as common misconceptions otherwise, which is basically that introverts are not good communicators. And that's definitely a misconception. I think introverts are more intentional in their communication. They actually think through things better. So they're absolutely partially at advantage there, even though also they sometimes they have some bits which are harder for them, but I would not say that's a downside. I think some of the maybe misconceptions in really training space is that a good trainer needs to be charismatic and showman and entertainer. I would say being an entertainer can definitely be a superpower that a trainer can use well, but it's absolutely not something that we need as a trainer. So we can definitely build on other strengths and not on that one. Maybe another one is that sometimes there is consideration that introverts are not so good at holding the attention of the group, which actually for a facilitator is not necessarily even important. You want to guide their attention, not hold them on yourself. For trainer, it can at some points be more important, but I would say that's definitely also a misconception. And the last one, that to some point the energy of the group will be just a reflection of how energetic facilitator is. And again, while this might be a superpower to extend our energy and build up the energy of the group through our own energy, it is absolutely not something that's necessary. And we can definitely hold this more stable, grounded vibe and energy and provide space for the group and facilitate in that more grounded way. Now, I still have 3-4 questions left. I hope you're still with me. Feel free to pause, reflect a bit. No need to tackle all these at the same time. You can also use the anchor to jump through the different questions. Now, the next one is, what are the advantages? Love this one. What are the advantages of introvert trainer? I would say one, it's definitely that often it means being better at listening. It's not a rule, but not speaking less automatically means we tend to listen better. And observing and noticing more subtle things maybe in the groups and group dynamics. The second thing, I do feel like often introverts will have more thoughtfulness. They'll think things through to more depth. They'll prepare better. Again, there are no hard rules here, but some of the ideas. And finally, I think they'll be better at allowing the silence and space to reflect. And these are often bits that in training and workshops are missing a bit. So while we do want to hold that space intentionally and know where we guide people, ability to stay with that space and with the silence is really good for any trainer. Now, if you want to dive into the general superpowers of introverts, I would recommend a book, Quiet, by Susan, I think last name is Kane, I'm not sure, but I will link it into the episode description, together with the book list of many other books that I would recommend. But this is a really good one to check it out, like to tap into that introversion from the point of how can it be a superpower. Now, the next one. What are your practical tips for new introvert trainers? Somebody who's stepping in the training space, that are introvert, what should they be mindful of, how they can help themselves? I would say my best tip is to keep learning to know yourself better and keep observing your patterns. What is challenging for you? How can you overcome it better? Where does your energy maybe drain a bit? What are the dramatic moments for you? And then just focus on those bits and moments that are challenging and start building on those and protecting boundaries and space around those. Next to that, I would say just definitely accept that you need that time to recharge and space to recharge, and that has to be one of priorities for you. So work on those boundaries, on that intentionality, on knowing you will need that space, so on planning for that, and always plan for yourself what is the space and way in which you will recharge and get space for yourself. And also, what is your space to think? Because if you're more on introvert thinking style, it will be really challenging to think while everybody's speaking in all the conversations. So protecting also that time to think and to reflect. Being that on your business and business development, being that on your skills and self-development, being on your workshops and workshop design, I think that's a really good practice. I can give you an example of one boundary that I do. And that is when I talk to new clients and we have a call in which they would like some proposal, I try to make it very clear that on that call, I'll be there to hear much more about their situation, but then I'll give them more suggestions of what would we go with, or maybe the budget, or maybe more specific proposal in a follow-up, in an email or something like that, because I want to give myself time to think in a more structured way and to decide on this. And I will still share some ideas or general guidelines with them on the call, but I'll be very mindful not to create an expectation that on a call they'll get a conclusion or a decision, because that's not going to happen, because I know that would not be an optimal way for me to create a decision or to make a decision. Okay, last two things. I think many of you will like this. What do you do regardless feeling nervous or fear in terms of public speaking and being the center of attention? I have two quick ones. I feel like this is a question we could explore in a whole new episode, but two quick ones. First, really focus on them and what is the value you're trying to give them. Focus on that intention to help them understand something, them being your participant. Focus on that attention to support them in their learning process and to be there for them and to guide them towards the goal instead of focusing on yourself and am I looking smart, am I looking good? So focus on the process, focus on the participants, shift attention from yourself to them. And the second thing, breathe. The difference between anxiety before public speaking and excitement before public speaking is only in breath. They both come with a bit of tension, with a bit of adrenaline, with a bit of kind of, a lot of energy that we don't know what to do with. But the difference between them, excitement comes with a lot of breath, with the lungs full, with breathing deep, while anxiety comes with more cleaned way of stopping to breathe. So definitely focus, if you're at all nervous, focus on opening your chest more, on standing up a bit more right, and on really just breathing consciously a bit deeper, and especially extending your exhale. That's your magic tool for that. And the last thing, do you think that introvert trainers connect differently with their participants? Honestly, this one I have no idea about, so your comments are also welcome. But I would, as a first hunch, I would say probably there is a bit more depth and thoughtfulness, but also less number of people we connect with. And I would think that introverts would have a bit more ability to help people feel seen. And I would say introverts will thrive a bit more in connecting, even with the group, in more one-on-one way, paying attention to everyone, connecting before the session, connecting in the breaks, than necessarily in like a full group vibes and energy. But these are just hunches. I don't have like the ultimate right answer to that one. I really hope if you felt at the beginning of this podcast that, oh, I'm an introvert, should I be a trainer? I don't like spotlight, I don't like attention, can I still make it? I really hope this encouraged you a bit. And I also hope it gave you some ideas of how you can, incorporate that in your work, that it still works for you and that it even becomes a bit of a superpower. Do check out the book linked. Do let me know if you have any similar or completely different questions you would like me to cover in some of the future episodes. I would love this podcast to come more from your thoughts and ideas and wishes. So you can always let me know that through LinkedIn. I'll also add my LinkedIn in description, please do connect, or through replying to any of Trainers Toolbox weekly newsletters, then it lands directly into my inbox. So do connect, do share your thoughts on this episode, do share wishes, suggestions, everything for future episodes. I'll be really happy to hear. And if you enjoy meaningful conversations like this, you might consider joining us at Trainers Conversations community, where we talk through topics, many topics, all topics related to trainers, life, personality, energy, work. So that's a good place to share and explore and get many more perspective and not just my perspective. So do check out Trainers Conversations and maybe join us. It's an online community, meets once per month. It's not too much, even for heavy introverts. And the last thing, if you're looking to become a trainer or strengthen the foundations of your workshop design and workshop delivery, please do check Train the Trainer program. It's a program that equips you with everything you need to be a really, really great trainer. Thank you for listening. Thank you for exploring this topic with me. I hope you found some exciting ideas and valuable tools that you will use already today. Remember, they only work if you put them in practice, but then they make all the difference. If you enjoy Trainers Toolbox podcast, do leave a rating and review. It does mean a lot. And if you haven't done it yet, click on the links in the episode descriptions and discover free materials and valuable resources to dive in deeper. See you in the next episode or at Trainers Toolbox newsletter.